Showering in the dark. Some people with depression shower in the dark, not because it's quirky, but because it feels less overwhelming. Lights, mirrors, and harsh reflections can be overstimulating when you're already drained. Darkness becomes a way to avoid confronting your appearance, your thoughts, or even the effort of engaging with your environment. It's a small act of self-preservation that outsiders rarely notice. While it might feel calming in the moment, it can also be a sign of wanting to disappear or escape stimulation. If this resonates, know it's not laziness. It's your mind asking for relief. Gentle support and structure can help restore comfort. Leaving texts unopened. When depression sets in, even the smallest task can feel like a mountain, and that includes replying to a message. Leaving texts unopened isn't about not caring. It's about being too mentally and emotionally drained to respond, even if you want to. The thought of finding the right words or carrying on a conversation can feel impossible. Unfortunately, this often gets misread as avoidance or disinterest, when in reality it's a sign of overwhelm. For someone struggling, messages become reminders of energy they don't have. Understanding this can help friends be patient and supportive instead of assuming rejection or neglect. Overcleaning or organizing. On the surface, overcleaning or obsessively organizing looks productive, even admirable. But for someone with depression, it can be a coping mechanism. When emotions feel chaotic, controlling your environment becomes a way to manage the inner storm. Scrubbing, sorting, and tidying distracts from emotional pain and create a sense of order, at least temporarily. The problem is that it rarely addresses the root issue. Once the task is done, the heaviness often returns. This cycle can be exhausting, yet it feels safer than sitting with painful emotions. If you notice yourself cleaning compulsively, it may be worth asking what feelings you're trying to keep at bay. Eating the same safe food every day. When someone is depressed, decision-making can feel overwhelming. Even choosing what to eat can drain energy. That's why many people stick to the same safe food daily. It removes the stress of choice. Safe foods also provide a sense of predictability and comfort in a world that feels uncertain. While it may look like pickiness or lack of creativity, it's really about conserving mental energy. Unfortunately, this can lead to poor nutrition and reinforce cycles of fatigue. Recognizing this habit as a coping mechanism, not laziness, helps build compassion. Gentle encouragement toward variety or planning meals in advance can make eating less stressful. Sleeping in clothes instead of changing. For many people, the end of the day includes routines. Shower, pajamas, brushing teeth. But for someone struggling with depression, even those small steps can feel like too much. Falling asleep in the day's clothes isn't comfort. It's exhaustion. When energy is gone, changing into pajamas feels monumental. Over time, this habit may reinforce feelings of hopelessness or lack of control. Outsiders may mistake it for carelessness, but in reality, it's a quiet signal of just how drained someone feels. Recognizing the effort it takes simply to get through the day is important. Offering empathy instead of judgment can make all the difference. Binge-watching shows you don't even enjoy. We all zone out in front of the TV sometimes, but depression can turn it into something different. Binge-watching shows you don't even like isn't about entertainment. It's about numbing. The endless stream of episodes fills the silence, distracts from heavy thoughts, and passes time without requiring energy or emotional investment. It's a coping mechanism that creates the illusion of escape, but leaves the person feeling emptier afterward. From the outside, it may look like laziness, but it's often a quiet way to avoid overwhelming feelings. Noticing this pattern can be the first step toward healthier coping strategies that actually bring relief. Avoiding phone calls but scrolling endlessly. Depression creates a strange contradiction. Craving connection but feeling unable to engage. That's why many people avoid phone calls yet scroll endlessly through social media. Calls require energy, attention, and conversation, things that feel draining when you're low. Scrolling, on the other hand, gives the illusion of being connected without the pressure of responding. Unfortunately, it often deepens feelings of isolation, as comparison and passivity replace real interaction. To outsiders, it may look like avoidance or disinterest, but in reality, it's a quiet battle between wanting closeness and lacking the strength for it. Compassion, not pressure, helps break this cycle. Staying up all night for no reason. Sometimes depression shows up as late-night restlessness. Lying awake, scrolling, or distracting yourself until sunrise. It's not always insomnia, it can also be avoidance. Staying up delays the arrival of the next day, especially when it feels heavy or overwhelming. For some, the stillness of night feels safer, free from expectations or demands. But this habit quickly worsens fatigue, mood, and concentration, feeding the cycle of depression. Outsiders may see it as irresponsibility, when it's really an attempt to cope with dread or racing thoughts. Gentle routines and small sleep goals can help restore balance, but it starts with awareness. Talking less around friends. Depression doesn't always silence someone completely. It often just makes words feel heavy. Around friends, they may listen more than they speak, offering fewer jokes, fewer stories, or shorter responses. It's not because they don't care or enjoy the company. It's because social energy feels drained, and even casual conversation takes effort. This shift can be easy to misinterpret as disinterest, when in reality it's a quiet symptom of struggle. Friends might notice someone pulling back in conversations without realizing what it means. The best response isn't to push for chatter, but to offer presence, patience, and reassurance that their company still matters. Withdrawing into quiet hobbies. Not all depression looks like lying in bed all day. Sometimes it looks like sinking into quiet, low-pressure hobbies, puzzles, simple games, or endless scrolling. These activities provide structure and distraction without demanding much emotional energy. They fill time, keep the mind busy, and feel safer than social interaction. To outsiders, it may look like harmless relaxation, but when it becomes the main way someone spends their days, it can signal withdrawal. These hobbies aren't the problem themselves. It's what they're replacing: connection, creativity, or joy. Recognizing when hobbies become an escape rather than enrichment is an important clue about mental health. Listening to the same sad playlist. Music is powerful, and for people with depression, it often becomes a mirror. Listening to the same sad playlist on repeat isn't about enjoying the songs, it's about finding something that matches their inner state. When joy or energy feels unreachable, sad music feels validating, even comforting. It creates a sense of someone understands, even if only through lyrics. Unfortunately, it can also reinforce low mood and keep emotions stuck. From the outside, it may seem like a preference, but when music becomes a constant soundtrack for pain, it may be a sign someone is struggling and looking for resonance in their sadness. Letting small chores pile up, trash that doesn't get taken out, laundry sitting unfolded, mail left unopened. To someone with depression, even the smallest chores can feel impossible. What looks like procrastination is often exhaustion and overwhelm. When energy is scarce, survival tasks, eating, resting, getting through the day, take priority over tidying. Over time, the pile of small tasks becomes overwhelming in itself, reinforcing feelings of failure or hopelessness. Outsiders may see laziness. In reality, it's the weight of depression showing up in everyday life. A little help, washing a few dishes, offering support, can lighten that load and remind someone they don't have to carry it alone. Wearing the same clothes for days. When depression hits, even the simplest routines can feel exhausting, including changing clothes. Wearing the same outfit for days isn't usually about comfort or preference. It's about not having the energy to pick something new, do laundry, or even think about appearance. Getting dressed can feel like a mountain when just surviving the day already takes everything. To others, this might look careless or lazy, but in reality, it's a quiet sign of struggle. Recognizing this habit as a symptom, not a flaw, can build compassion. Offering help with laundry or gently encouraging routines can ease the burden without shaming the person. Sudden bursts of spending. Depression can lead to impulsive spending sprees, buying random items online or indulging in retail therapy. These moments create a short-lived sense of excitement, control, or relief from emotional pain. But the high doesn't last, and guilt often follows, reinforcing the cycle of low mood. To outsiders, it may look reckless or irresponsible. In reality, it's a coping mechanism, a way to escape heaviness, even if just for a moment. Recognizing this pattern is key, because financial stress can add another layer to the struggle. Compassion, not criticism, helps someone find healthier ways to cope with the emptiness depression leaves behind. Avoiding mirrors or photos. For many people with depression, mirrors and cameras become things to avoid. Looking at yourself when you're struggling can feel unbearable, either because of low self-esteem, body image issues, or a sense of disconnection from who you are. Avoiding mirrors isn't vanity, it's self-protection. Photos, too, can trigger discomfort as they capture a version of you that doesn't match how you feel inside. To others, this might seem odd, but it's often a sign of deep inner pain. If you notice this pattern, it may mean someone is quietly battling self-image struggles tied to depression. Patience and empathy matter most here. Thank you for watching. These subtle habits may look quirky or harmless, but they often signal something deeper: depression hiding in plain sight. If you recognize any of these in yourself, remember you're not broken or lazy, you're struggling, and that struggle deserves compassion and support. If this video resonated, hit the like button, hype the video, subscribe for more mental health insights, and share it with someone who might need this reminder. And I'd love to hear from you. What signs stood out most? Let's talk in the comments. Better brain days.